Okay. Can you hear me okay?
I can.
Okay. Okay. So I'm recording our call, and thank you again for being really flexible today. I hope you got home okay. You got your Reiki session, and you're nice and relaxed.
Yes.
Okay. My name is Charmaine, by the way, and thank you for finding me on Instagram. Were you able to get the email that I sent you last night?
Yes. I'm actually looking at it right now, too, for notation.
There is one correction that I caught for your soul specialization. I think on your paper it says Keeper of Neutrality, but it's actually fourth order. So you can scratch out Keeper of Neutrality and then write in fourth order before I forget.
Okay.
Okay. So before we start, do you have any questions?
I want to know if Sirius is a part of Andromeda Galaxy.
It's different. Sirius is still in our galaxy, and the Andromeda Galaxy is a different galaxy.
Okay.
But we'll talk about that stuff when we get there.
Okay.
So before we start, I just wanted to explain my frame of reference because even if we don't believe in the same things, or even if, like in this reading, they're just like serious, there are terms that might sound familiar, but maybe my frame of reference is different, or we might call the same thing different names, but when I explain it, you might feel like it resonates with you. So even though I sent you that overview with names and labels and numbers,
right,
the reading goes beyond, labels. So as much as possible, I try to explain my frame of reference so that you can understand, you can get a bigger sense of where I'm coming from with these terms and what they mean. And also, behind the labels, behind the words that I use, there's always an underlying energy, with words and messages.
Linguistic.
So as long as you just tune in to what feels right, and, whatever feels right, go with that. If it doesn't feel right, that's cool too. You don't have to pay attention to it.
If we could, since I've already taken notes, basically because I didn't print this out or whatever, I'm writing on just regular printer paper, I would love to know a little bit deeper of fourth order as one of the first things.
Yeah, so when we get there, I will explain every section. I will explain in detail, and I'll always ask you, have you heard of that before, just so we can work off of what you already know.
Okay.
So we will definitely get into that. And what else? So what this reading is based on, have you heard of the Akashic Records before?
Yes.
Okay. So, it's this field of information that we access, and anybody can access it. So my way of accessing it is through a pendulum. So I have a list of questions that I ask with my pendulum, and based on the answers that I get, I come up with the reading that I'm giving to you. And also when it comes to the blocks and restrictions part, a lot of times I have to piece together the answer that I get and come up with a story. And then I check again with my pendulum to ask, okay, is this story accurate? Is it not? Is there something that I'm not getting right? So that's how I get this information for your reading. And what the reading is based on is that, my creation belief, which might be different from yours, but I'll explain it to you so you can understand where I'm coming from, is that we're all pieces of the divine, and that in the divine God or what creator, in its desire to know itself, himself or herself, in its desire to know himself better, he sent out pieces of himself. He kind of split himself in different, and each piece of himself is has a unique permutation, unique set of characteristics, so that it's, and one way I also see it is that it's like a computer program. that comes up with all these possible scenarios, and based on those possible scenarios, it's able to explore all the possibilities of itself and experience itself in all these multitudes of possibilities.
Are you Arcturian?
What's that?
I was like, are you Arcturian?
I am. Yeah. So that's how, that's my belief. And so each one of us on a soul level is a very unique expression of the divine. And the characteristics that we have is like our unique signature, or it's our signature frequency, and that it's similar to a very unique color, maybe, or a very unique shade of color, and that each lifetime that we incarnate in is our chance to paint with our unique color. And how we choose to paint with our unique color is kind of like our masterpiece in each lifetime. So maybe in one lifetime we'll choose to paint with our unique expression, like bright colors and be all over the place. Or maybe in another lifetime we'll want to be muted with our color and maybe only show up in certain areas. So each lifetime is an opportunity for us to express our unique signature energy. And so the first part of the reading is your soul profile, or your soul blueprint. And that is kind of the framework that your soul came into being with. And it's with that unique blueprint that your soul works with in each lifetime to express itself. And some of the qualities in your soul profile is enduring, meaning that it stays the same with each lifetime. And some of the qualities that I cover in the soul profile is like it's like a status check. Like, where are you right now in your current experience? And then the second part of the reading is any blocks or restrictions that might be getting in the way of you truly expressing yourself, truly expressing your divine soul blueprint. And again, the premise is that we're all pieces of the divine, and that we are all sovereign beings, we are all whole, we are all loved, we're powerful, we all have access to infinite intelligence, and we also all have the gift of free will. So it's because of this free will, and because we are powerful co-creators of our experience, it's because of the free will that we can either choose, it's always our choice, whether we live up to our divine blueprint, or if we decide to disempower ourselves or decide that we are not enough. It's always a matter of our choice because we have that free will. And so, any questions so far before I start with your soul profile? Okay.
No, I'm good.
So the first part of the soul profile is your energy center. And are you familiar with the term chakras?
I am.
Yeah. So chakras it's similar to energy centers, but chakras would be on our physical body, whereas energy centers would be on a soul level. So on a soul level, there are 8 energy centers, and I like to think of it as pieces of the pie. So we have all 8, every single one of us has all 8 energy centers, but the primary energy center would be like our biggest, like one piece of the pie would be the biggest. And so depending on what your primary energy center, and some people have a secondary, but depending on which energy center is your dominant energy center, that would determine your divine gifts. So it would be the aspect of the divine that you were meant to share, meant to express, and when you are fully expressing from this divine energy center, that is when you are abundant. That's when you are hooked up to the flow. That's when you feel most alive, most on purpose, and that's when you feel truly connected with your divinity. And that's how you're meant to share blessings for yourself and for others. And since all of us have all 8, and all of us have a dominant, either primary or secondary energy center, when each of us is fully expressing from our divine energy center, then we all kind of take care of a piece of the whole. So if each of us was fully expressing our, our energy center, then the whole gets taken care of. And that's kind of why I feel really passionate about doing these readings, is because I want everybody to be aware of their gifts. And I don't, because when you withhold your gifts, you're not only withholding from yourself, you're also withholding from the whole. So it's really vital that we truly and freely express ourselves in the ways that we were designed to. Because if you are forcing yourself to express from an energy center that isn't your primary energy center, that's when you'll feel more struggle, or maybe it'll feel like more work. But when you are expressing from your primary energy center, that's when it's not necessarily that it won't require work on your part, but whatever work you do as an expression of this energy center will feel right, and it will feel like I said, you'll feel alive, and that's when you feel like you're on purpose. So your dominant energy center, your primary energy center, is the 7th energy center. And the 7th energy center is the energy center of divine power. So people who have this as their dominant energy center, their superpower is actually their free will and their choice. And free will and choice is very, very important to them.
For the 7th?
Yes, for the 7th energy center. So that means that it's really important to you guys to be able to do and be what you want without limitation. And so it's really important to you. And because of this, you guys have an innate understanding of energy. You might be really intuitive or psychic, but you might...
Is this the purple?
I don't really necessarily have any colors associated with it, but in the chakra, the physical chakras, it's usually associated with purple, the 7th chakra. But energy centers and chakras aren't exactly the same. They're similar, but they're not exactly the same. So again, you guys have an innate understanding of energy. You might be really intuitive or psychic, and you guys are really you guys manifest very quickly and powerfully. So that is part of your gift. Because you manifest quickly and powerfully, it's through using your freedom of choice and your free will. When you utilize that to manifest, that is your superpower. So because you manifest quickly and powerfully, you guys are you're the masters of your destiny. And that's when you do that for yourself, you're also showing others how to do that for themselves. So it's really important for you to exercise your free will through the choices that you make. And you guys are often leaders of change, and you're really good and charismatic leaders, because you know that when you choose something, when you're really in tune with your dominant energy center, when you make a choice, you have this inner knowing that, or maybe you might not be as scared to make a choice and follow through with it, because you know that even if it doesn't work out, even if that choice is quote unquote wrong for you, you should be able to use that feedback to quickly manifest another reality, because you guys manifest powerfully and quickly. So for example, if you made a choice today to buy a new car or something, and you know that you can do that because you're confident in your manifesting abilities, you buy a new car, and maybe like a month from now, you decide that that's not the car for you. Because you're in tune with your power to manifest, you're not going to worry so much, oh my God, I bought the wrong car. You know that you can manifest a way to just go ahead and make another decision and either buy a different car or, you know that you have the power of your choice and the power of your manifestation abilities to create your own experience. So it's really important for you guys to learn how to use the immediate feedback that you get with whatever it is that you manifest to discern whether what you created is truly in alignment with you or not. Even if it's not in alignment with who you are, just be confident that because this is your gift, because you manifest quickly and powerfully, you always have the power of your choice to adjust your course. So, you know, you're not stuck in a situation because you have this gift of manifesting. So if you're always connected to your free will and your choice and you utilize it freely based on what you want and what you feel, you know, what feels good for you, then you can always be in control of what you create for yourself. So seventh energy center people are usually highly independent and strong-willed because they know they are in control of their destiny. And again, you guys embrace change more readily because if you're really in tune with your gifts, you know that you can always change your situation. So you're not scared to make a change or to make a choice that might be different from, you know, your norm because you're confident in your ability to create your reality. You guys are also in tune with your self-determination, because you are aware of the power of your free will and your choice and your manifesting abilities, you're able to self-determine your destiny. And because a lot of times money is tied to the ability for us to dictate our circumstances, money is also really important for you guys because it's the energy that allows you the freedom of choice. And seventh energy center people are usually successful leaders because you guys, you know, are change drivers, and you guys are willing to take risks. And again, you guys are willing to take risks because you are confident in your ability to correct any mistakes down the road. So you guys are also good entrepreneurs because of that. So where the seventh energy center people need to watch out, or the types of situations that you need to watch out for because it might drain your energy, is when you get into situations of obligation. So if, for example, you know, because you guys like to be able to make your own decisions and it's really important for you to have that freedom of choice, whenever you get into a situation where you feel obligated to others, so obligation usually means, you know, you feel like you have to do something because either you owe somebody or, you know, obligation usually is opposite of free will or freedom of choice. So if, for example, you feel obligated to a family member, like your family member, for example, is maybe making you, I don't know, I'm just making stuff up, but maybe a family member is saying, well, can I live with you because I don't have a place to stay at? And you feel obligated to take them in even though you enjoy, you know, I don't know, walking around naked in your house, you know, like you enjoy having your own space.
Yes.
So if you take on that type of situation because you feel obligated, not because it feels right, but because you feel obligated, then you get tied, your superpower gets tied up because then you're not able to freely utilize your freedom of choice. And
my superpower gets what? Sorry.
It gets tied up. Like, you know, you're not able to use it freely because there's this other person that you're always watching out for, or, you know, and so that kind of suppresses your superpower because you can't use it readily. And so, or sometimes seventh energy people will even take on more responsibility out of obligation, sometimes because they feel like they can do it the right way. So, like, you know, like, oh, fine, I'll just take on this responsibility because I know I can get it done my way, I can get it done, the right way. And so they'll take on additional responsibility even if they don't want to. And then when it gets to be too much, when it, takes up too much of their time or their attention, then they start to become really resentful. And that drains energy from you. One, because you're not able to do what you really want to do, and also because it takes time, energy, and attention away from the things that you truly want to do. So if you should happen to find yourself in situations like that, either address the situation, like, speak to whoever you feel is making you feel obligated. And if you've tried to address the situation and it hasn't changed, then you still always have the choice to leave that situation. So being stuck is never really true in a sense, because we always have choice to either leave a situation or to address a situation. And if you continue to be in a situation like that, again, you can become really resentful, and because others are taking up your time, and also seventh energy people can also become resentful of other people because you guys are used to manifesting fast. You guys kind of have this fast-paced sense of doing things. You guys can have less tolerance for people who aren't as quick to do things or who aren't as quick to manifest. So that can also be something to watch out for. And also, because of your gift, you guys manifest really quickly and powerfully. Sometimes your gift can feel like a burden. So that's why sometimes seventh energy people, even though they're really charismatic and really, good leaders, a lot of times they can become reclusive because their gift can feel like a burden. Or maybe because people start to demand too much from them, which can lead them into a situation of obligation. So they might keep to themselves because they just don't want to deal with that. So that's obligation is something to watch out for, because that will drain you. And the dysfunctional aspect of the seventh energy center, another thing to watch out for, is possibility paralysis. Again, because you guys manifest really quickly and there's all these options available to you and you know it, there's a tendency for seventh energy center people to get stuck in possibility paralysis, where, going back to that car example, for example, you want to buy a new car and you can buy any car you really want to, basically. You might get stuck in the researching and going through all the choices that, in considering all the possibilities, you might not even end up making a choice because you're stuck, picking from all the colors and from all the options, that it takes you away from actually making the choice that you need to make. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Yeah. So that's the seventh energy center. And again, when you're really in tune with your energy center and your gifts, that is when you're able to access abundance for yourself and for others. And just because you're a powerful manifester, again, it doesn't necessarily mean that you need to do for others necessarily. Just in you truly following your heart and manifesting what feels right and what feels good for you, when people watch you do that and they see how quickly you make things happen for yourself, that is enough of a gift for other people, is to see that it's possible. Like if you get, oh man, if she can do it, then that gives them the possibility that it's possible, or that gives them the idea that it's possible for them. So again, I'm not saying you don't need to help other people, but do it if it feels right for you. Do it as long as, it is your true free will choice that you're doing something, not out of obligation. And again, ultimately, you are here to create your experience. It's your experience that you're responsible for. And when you're really in tune with your expression of your dominant energy center, that is what you're meant to do here. So that's kind of what you're designed to do. So the next part of the reading is the soul group of origin. So I think you're already familiar.
I'm curious what the 37% thingy.
Oh, sorry. So that is the fraction of the whole. That's your piece of the pie. That's how big your seventh energy center is compared to the rest. So if there's 8 energy centers that, as a whole will make up 100%, your seventh energy center is
my
37.
dominant.
Yeah, is the 37% of that whole.
All right, so I'm excited now. Soul group, because I thought I was Andromeda forever.
Yeah. So soul group of origin. Let me kind of explain the background of this. So you know how here on Earth there's different countries, and depending on which country you are born in or born from, that kind of determines your characteristics, maybe your culture, and so you kind of carry the set of characteristics that you carry with you. And I think, as you already know, just because your soul originates in one star system doesn't necessarily mean that you stay there. So just like here on Earth, we are free to travel to different countries, different places. Just like here on Earth, different countries offer different experiences. Same thing with our galaxy and the universe. Different star systems, different planets carry different opportunities for different types of experiences. So what determines where our soul originates is it's kind of backwards, where what our soul group characteristics is what determines where we originate from. So so you're saying you've always thought you were from the Andromeda galaxy.
Well, that's how I found this. Like, I had like vision, like I watched some sort of planetary thing, and I saw how Andromeda clashes with this, and that's what led me to starseeds. And then, I kind of felt like a hybrid all my life, like reptilian and Nibiru, and I'm like, but I am kind of new.
So, Sirius, or from my understanding, the soul group that comes from the Andromeda galaxy is the mission realm. So that is the angels. That's where the angels originate from. But just because you don't originate, like for you, for example, from my reading, like I said, maybe don't get too attached to labels if the term Sirius doesn't resonate with you. Listen to my description of the Syrians and listen to my description of the Proteins. Because even if we have an awareness of Sirius, we might have different understandings of the same word. So just listen to my explanation and see if it resonates with you. So Syrians, they are they're very creative soul group. They are here to, they are interested in improving things. So they are not the ones who come up with the original idea. They are the soul group who builds on an existing idea already and makes it better. So you guys aren't the ones who invent the wheel, but you guys would be the group who would take the idea of the wheel and maybe use better materials or make it more aerodynamic to make it more efficient. So that is the motto of this soul group is kind of like, let's find a better way. So this soul group is typically inspired by existing structures and systems. And so you guys don't create from scratch. They are typically very organized. They love systems, methodologies. They like to plan and make lists. And they are highly goal-oriented. Now, things to watch out for this soul group is that they can get stuck in the planning part of it or the analysis part of it or trying to perfect methodology. So they might get stuck in that part of the process that might prevent them from, moving forward with their ideas. They might also get frustrated in trying to come up with the original idea, trying to be original, but they should instead focus their creativity on building on an idea that already exists instead of trying to work themselves, trying to come up with the original idea. So that is the Syrian group. So again, using the analogy of, Earth and different countries, just because we originate as souls in one area of the galaxy doesn't necessarily mean that we stay there forever. Just like here on Earth, we can immigrate to another country because we want a different experience or different opportunities. So on a soul level, we are also wanderers. We go to different areas of the galaxy and maybe even the universe to experience different scenarios, different opportunities, different environments. And just like when you immigrate to another country, for example, me, I'm Filipino. I was born in the Philippines, so I was kind of ingrained with a certain way of being, because of my culture. But I immigrated to the States. So as I lived here in the States, some of my, I've kind of adopted an American way of being, although I still carry some of my Filipino cultural practices and beliefs. So it's kind of like that on a soul level too, where even if you originate in one area of the galaxy and have these certain characteristics, if you move to a different area, you might start adopting the characteristics of that certain place, either because you didn't spend a lot of time in your place of origin, or maybe because you've spent so much time in this other place that you started taking on their characteristics. So in your case, even though your soul originated in Sirius, you have an underlay. So an underlay means that you didn't spend much time in Sirius. So even though you have the Syrian characteristics is what you were kind of meant to embody and carry with you and express, because, again, we have free will, you opted to go to, I think you're familiar with the Protheans, because I think you posted that.
That's actually how I found you.
Yeah. So your underlay is Prothean. So that means you didn't spend much time in Sirius. You went right from Sirius, you went to Protheus, the star system of Protheus, and you spent most of your time there so that you identify more with the Prothean characteristics. So the story of the Protheans that I'm aware of, again, might be different from yours, but just see what feels right. There's a story with the Protheans. So they are a rare soul group. There's not too many of you guys. But on their planet, they thrived off of light. That's where they got their energy from. So a lot of Prothean souls, they like to be in the sun. That's where they feel good. And they also love to be outside. So that was the nature of these beings. They're like outdoor. They thrived being outdoors. They're really connected to nature. And they also have, typically, they have a really slight build. Like they're not stocky physically. They're usually either really tall and kind of lanky, but like they have a slight frame. And they also really have unusual eyes, whether it's really bright eyes or really like deep eyes. They usually have noticeable eyes. But the story is that Prothean souls, a lot of them, not all, because there's some who came into the Earth experience purely because they wanted to be here. But there is a large group of Prothean souls. Their planet was quarantined because I think I don't know if they were under attack, but their home planet was quarantined. So there were souls who were traveling, who were in Prothy at the time, and they wanted to go home. But since they couldn't go home, they had to be redirected somewhere else. It's kind of like a refugee status. So there's a large group of Prothean souls who ended up coming to Earth, not because they wanted to, but because this was their option because they couldn't go home. So if you are one of those groups who ended up coming to Earth in that way, those group of souls might tend to feel lost in a way, like they don't really
like I want to go
belong
home all the time.
Yeah. So they might feel lost. They might feel a sense of like lack of direction, like I don't really know what I'm doing here kind of a situation. Or they may, because their true sense of purpose isn't necessarily to be here, they might feel like they might feel a lack of direction in their life, or they might try to gain meaning in their life through others. So if they're not feeling a sense of true purpose, then they might find somebody around them who has a strong sense of purpose and try to assist their friend or, that other person and gain some meaning for themselves by helping somebody else who has a really strong sense of purpose or meaning. But again, that's not such a bad thing either, because, you can make the best. If you are feeling that way, you can always make the best of your situation and you can assist. But again, going back to your 7th energy center, do it only if it feels right to you. So that's Prothean is your underlay, but you also still carry, characteristics of the Syrian group. So you might have both.
Well, what if I feel like I'm not really organized? And then are you basically saying that Protheans, we don't have like a sole purpose, or we
Not
lack?
necessarily that you don't, but you might, if you are one of those souls who came to Earth in that situation, you might not feel like it. You might have a kind of like a nagging sense of, like you said, like being called home, like not having a true sense of home or a clear purpose. I'm not saying you don't have a purpose, but you just might have this sense. I mean, I think ultimately my belief is that even if the universe always works in your favor. So even if this wasn't your plan, there's a reason why you're here. Even if that was the circumstance that you ended up being here, there's always a reason why you're here. It's not, nothing's by accident. And so even if you don't feel a clear sense of purpose now, it doesn't necessarily mean that you being here has no point. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it might be your purpose is to help somebody, and maybe that's why you are with the people you are with, is to help them out in whatever way you can.
And then
but
I'm lacking direction, you were saying before, or? You
could be. And again, labels and numbers doesn't necessarily tie you. It doesn't tie your fate to what I'm describing, but that's just something to be aware of. So you might feel a sense of lack of purpose, or you might feel a sense of feeling kind of lost, maybe in terms of not belonging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got it.
So that's the soul group part.
Mm-hmm.
Soul vibration. So the way I understand things and the way I see things is, you've heard of the term dimensions, and that we're supposed to, I think you're familiar with the idea that we're supposed to be ascending into a higher vibration. My understanding of dimensions and vibrations is that there's no, just like in a rainbow, there's no clear cut where red ends and orange begins. If you look at the gradient on a rainbow,
mm-hmm.
it's just continuous color. It's just a gradient, and so there's no line that separates the colors as you're going through the rainbow. You're just kind of blending through it, and essentially the rainbow is just white light anyways. They're all existing at the same time in the same place, almost essentially. So on a physical level, I believe that dimensions is simply a matter of awareness. So a lower dimension, like the lowest dimensional awareness we have as humans in this physical body is the third dimension, and that is the dimension of our physicality. So this is where this is the dimension where choice and action happens. So even if, I know in memes and even on the internet, people always say, fuck the third dimension. It's all about higher vibes and love and light, and we need to all move on to the fifth dimension. But in our physical body, it's not, our physical body wouldn't exist if we all just lived in the fifth dimension. So our lowest dimensional awareness of ourselves is the third dimension, and that is the dimension of our physicality. This is where we can bring higher dimensional awareness and ground it into our physical reality through action and actually doing things, the physical part. The fourth dimension is the dimension of thought. So if we only had strictly third dimensional awareness, we would only identify ourselves as our body. Like, this is me. Charmaine is this body. When you move into a fourth dimensional awareness, then you become aware of yourself, not just as your body, but also as your thoughts. So, okay, Charmaine is this body, but Charmaine is also the thoughts that I'm thinking. So that's who I would identify with. And then when you move into fifth dimensional awareness, that is when you become aware of yourself as more than just your body and your thoughts. You become aware of yourself as spirit. So you become aware of yourself as a spiritual being.
Is that in fourth or fifth?
Thoughts. That's in fifth.
Sorry. Okay.
Fifth dimension.
Aware spirit?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Got it.
So you become aware of yourself as a spiritual being who is also having thoughts in a physical body. So you're basically, as we move up in dimensional awareness, our awareness of ourselves just expands. So in the sixth dimension, going back to the fifth dimension, the fifth dimension is, the dimension of information. A lot of times, people who are just coming into fifth dimensional awareness, that's when they start, reading books about spirituality, and they have this craving for more. They want to learn more about themselves as spiritual beings. In the sixth dimension, when you come into sixth dimensional awareness, you aren't necessarily craving information, or you're not necessarily trying to learn about yourself as a spiritual being anymore. You're actually putting it into practice. So in the sixth dimensional awareness, then you are utilizing the knowledge of yourself as a spiritual being, and you are implementing it into your daily life already. So maybe you might change your career to reflect who you truly are as a spiritual being, but basically you are aligning your everyday life into the knowing that you have of yourself as a spiritual being. And then as you move into higher dimensions, you're integrating that not just information, but also the power that you now have as a spiritual being into not just everyday things, but in how you affect those around you, and how you affect your community, and how you affect the world. And you just have a bigger and bigger awareness and capability of expressing yourself as a divine being on a larger and larger level as you go up in dimensional awareness. And so you are at 6.6. So that means your soul vibration, your awareness, you are at sixth dimensional awareness right now. And the thing is, as you go up higher in your vibration rate, that means the more you know of yourself as a spiritual being. As your vibration goes up, so does your responsibility. So the more you know of yourself as a spiritual being, the more you are responsible to put that knowledge into practice. So it's kind of like, grade school. If you're in third grade and then you moved on to sixth grade, you're already doing sixth grade math, you're reading sixth grade books, it's expected of you to be doing sixth grade work. But if you're in sixth grade and you keep on insisting on doing third grade math, even though you're fully capable of doing sixth grade stuff, you're not really fully utilizing your knowledge and your capabilities. And so, you might even insist on staying in the third grade classroom and the chairs there are too small. So it gets really uncomfortable. So the higher you go in your vibrational awareness, again, the higher the responsibility it is, the higher your responsibility to be true to who you know you really are. Because as you go up in vibration, your manifesting abilities also increase. And so when you manifest, if you are putting your manifesting efforts into something that is not true to who you are, it will reflect more powerfully. So if you are not being true to who you are and you're a high vibration being, you will get kicked in the butt more powerfully and more quickly. So your feedback your manifesting feedback will be more powerfully felt, and it will happen faster. So I've done readings for, higher vibration people who have cancer, and, they're like, well, why? If I'm so high vibe, why am I having cancer? Then when we go through the blocks, there are really powerful choices that they're making that is not congruent to who they really are, and that's why they have cancer. It's because they're not being true to themselves, and they are manifesting powerfully because they're high vibe, that it's making it really uncomfortable for them. And so it's like telling them, it's like kicking them in the butt, hey, you need to correct this. And that's why they're experiencing those things. So again, the higher your awareness, the higher your vibration, the more that you have a responsibility to be who you really are. So that's your soul vibration. You're at 6.6. And typically, when we get to, like if you go to the 0.9s, like when you're about to transition from one dimensional awareness to the other, that's typically the dark nights of our soul, when we really kind of get tested. And again, it's like grade school. When you're nearing the end of your fourth grade year, that's when you get tested to see if you can move on to the next grade level. So a lot of times, those are the times when we are asked to shed our old ways of being and move into the ways of being that we know we're truly capable of. Like we really need to step up into this new way of being that we're moving into. And that's why a lot of times during those times of transition, it's really painful, or it's really uncomfortable. It's because we're moving into a new way of being. So you're at 6.6, and these times we're in, and the area of the galaxy that we're moving into, it's raising our vibration higher. And so that's why, there's more awareness now. There's more spiritual awareness that's going around, and there's more discomfort. There's more unrest also. It's because people who insist on staying low vibe in a high vibe environment, it's really uncomfortable for them. And that's why a lot of people are going through a lot of shit right now. It's because they're really, and unfortunately it's painful for a lot of people. It's because a lot of us are being asked to let go of old ways of being. And the tighter you hold on to those old ways of being, the more uncomfortable it is. And so we really have to
let go.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So that's my take on vibration, dimensions, and why we're having the experiences that we're experiencing right now. The next part is higher self connection. You've heard of the term higher self, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So my analogy for higher self is like somebody playing a video game. So our connection to our higher self is like somebody playing a video game with a wireless controller. So our higher self would be the person playing the video game. So the higher self has probably played the game a bunch of times already. So it's probably been to higher levels. So it knows the best route to take. It knows where the best power-ups are, or it knows where the fun parts are. So it's always trying to guide us through the path that it knows will be the best for us. But as so us in our physical body, we are the video game character in the video game. And so our higher self, again, is always trying to guide us. But our connection isn't always strong. So just like, the wireless controller, sometimes there might be interference, and so our connection might not be strong, or sometimes, might be too far away, so, the messages aren't coming through. And also, what's different in that scenario, the video game scenario, is that, again, ultimately, us as video game characters, we have the final say. We have free will. So even if our higher self, even if we have 100% connection, if our free will, we still ultimately have the choice, the last say of whether we're going to listen to what our higher self is saying or not. So the connection percentages that I sent you in the email, again, it's a reflection of just the connection. It doesn't reflect whether you're listening or whether you're following, your higher self guidance.
Well, can I strengthen the connection?
Yes. So your higher self conscious connection is at 55%. So conscious connection is, when you are consciously engaging in that conversation with your higher self. Maybe
you said, I apologize, you did say subconscious on the form that is 55, not conscious.
Oh, I'm sorry. I got that one then. Your conscious connection is 55%.
So it is the other way around.
Yes, and your subconscious connection is 82%. Sorry about that.
Okay. Let me just rewrite that. Subconscious is 82?
Subconscious is 82, yes.
Okay, got it.
And then conscious is 55. So conscious is when you're consciously seeking guidance. Some people do it through prayer. They're always saying, oh, God, show me a sign. Or they're consciously praying for something that they want. Or it can also be through divination tools, whether you do tarot cards or medium pendulum or, numerology, like paying attention to the numbers around you. Those are all conscious connections because you are in your conscious state of mind seeking this connection with your higher self. And so ways to strengthen that is just being engaged in that conversation. Again, it helps to listen to whatever signs or hits that you're getting because then your higher self will be more kind of motivated, like, oh, she's listening, let me give her more tips. But again, the number doesn't necessarily define whether you listen or not. So you can't. The way to strengthen it would just be to be actively engaged that conversation. It's to keep your eyes open for the messages, just listening, and asking questions too. Because the more that you ask, then the more your higher self will be engaged in giving you signs and trying to guide you. But if you're not, it's kind of like Google. Like your higher self is Google. If you don't type in a search word or a keyword, it doesn't know what to give you. So just be engaged in asking questions, being curious about the world, and engaging that conversation can help strengthen your conscious connection. So on a subconscious level, oftentimes we reconnect with our higher self in dreams, in sleep, or even when we kind of zone out, when we daydream. And sometimes also in meditation, sometimes there's a conscious meditation, sometimes there's a subconscious meditation. So it can also be through meditation. For me, like when I'm in the shower, I zone out, and I often get a lot of like insights. Or when I'm on a road trip.
Is that subconscious?
Yes, that's subconscious.
Okay, cool.
When you're just kind of zoning out. You're not really asking for anything. You're just kind of zoned out, and then
I do that all the time.
Yeah. So
nice.
Dreaming too. So the ways to increase that connection or strengthen that connection. If you're into dream journals, journal your dreams, no matter how nonsensical they are. Or, again, just paying attention to the insights that you get when you are in a state of zoning out or daydreaming. And, again, it's always all about engaging. The more you engage, the more it'll come. So that's your that's your higher self connection. And the next part I have here is white light. So white light is, I like to think of them as prayer or wish fairies. And the example I use is like a dandelion. You know how you blow on a dandelion to make a wish, and then all these white things fly off and carry your wishes to whoever needs to hear them. So that's kind of how I think of white light. They are like carriers for your intentions. And what I think of them as is these energetic, little fairies or light thingies that are always hovering around you, just waiting for you to put out an intention. Whether it's you don't have to verbally say it, or you don't have to blow out a birthday candle to make a wish or blow on a dandelion. It's when you have an intention and you are acting on it, that in itself is already like making a wish. So if you're saying, I need to find a new place to live, but my job isn't paying enough. So your wish is to find a better place to live. You putting out an intention is you maybe searching for a better place to live, even if your job isn't the best right now. You're already acting like this wish is coming true. So you have these white lights around you that are saying, oh, okay, Trina is making moves. She wants a better place to live. Let's go ahead and deliver this wish out. Let's send the message out. And they're kind of like your people who will coordinate with other people's people to make your wish happen. So that's
funny you say that because I'm actually doing that right now.
Yeah. So that's how I like to think of white lights. They are kind of, like the workers at Home Depot or something who are always waiting for a job. Like, you just need to give them a job and they will go out and, deliver the message for you. So nobody ever runs out of white lights. However, if you're not putting out intention, then you don't attract, it's like the workers at Home Depot. If you don't have a job for them, they're not going to come to you. So the more that you put out intention, the more of them you will attract. And so the maximum number of white lights you can have is 30. Once you reach 30, you get a blue light. So a blue light is like a truckload or like a bus of, it's like bigger carrying capacity. So you are a wish-making machine because you have 30 white lights and you have 4 blue lights. So
what is the 4 lights? Like, so if 30 is a truckload, so what is 4 blue lights? Or am I getting stuff wrong?
So 30 is the smaller ones. The white lights is the smaller ones. Blue lights is the bigger carrying capacity. So you've already reached your max of blue lights. So now you've moved on to you've already reached your max of white lights. So you've already moved on to...
So is this why people call me a muse? Like, I can make people's stuff happen, like anything people want. Like, I can basically guide them, or like I'm a guider or something like that.
It could be that, but you are, like I said, you're built to manifest. So like I said, maybe in just you doing things for yourself, you help people do things for themselves because you are showing them how you do things, or maybe
and how it's possible.
Yes. So that is your gift for yourself and for others. So when you're doing that, you're sharing your gift. So
more about blue lights.
So you have 4 blue lights. You already have like 4 truckloads just waiting to make things happen for you. So this is just a reflection of how supported we all are. If somebody had maybe like 15 white lights, then I would tell them, hey, you need to put out more intention into the world. You haven't been putting out much intention into the world, so just know that you're supported.
How would you define that? Like, what do you mean? Like, how can I tell other people about putting out more intention? What does that mean? Like, figure out what they want, or what's good words for that?
You don't necessarily need to tell people about white lights, but just know. You can just say, hey, you know what? At this point in my life, I wanted this to happen, and I didn't know how it was going to happen, but I just made moves to make it happen, and look, it happened for me. So, I mean, that's the best teaching tool you have is yourself, your examples, your experiences. So you can just say, this is what happened for me. And, like, I've always been supported. And, if you tap into your guidance, because all of us have our own divine guidance. All of us are parts of the divine. We're all built in to be supported. So you don't necessarily, that's what I'm saying, you don't have to necessarily do things for others, but
I just do things for me.
Yeah, and it shows them that it might not happen exactly the same way you do it.
Well, what does it mean if they don't have blue lights? What then? What do you mean they're not supported? Like, okay.
It's not necessarily that they're not supported. It's just they haven't made choices that require them to be supported because they haven't put out intention. Maybe they do want a better job, but they don't even bother looking for a better job because they don't think it's possible or they don't think they deserve it. So they don't. Are
supporters people or no? Or
what's that?
Universal? Are the blue light supporters, like, are those people, or is that like just? They
are just like energetic carriers.
Okay.
So they're not necessarily people. They're just mechanisms that support you in the intentions that you put out.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah. And again, these numbers aren't, like in stone. They're kind of just ideas or concepts to help you visualize how much support you have and how much support you've been utilizing. So okay, let me clarify that. So this isn't how much support you have. This is how much support you've already used. So that goes the same for other people.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So because you can still get more. This is just how much you've used so far. So that would be a better way to describe it.
Got it.
So if somebody had 15 white lights, it doesn't necessarily mean that they have less support. It's just they haven't asked for it.
Yeah.
So that's just an indicator of how much they've asked for it and actually put it to use. So next one is spirit guides.
Can you see them?
Guides. Excuse me? Okay,
I was like, can you see them?
No. But I have another reading where I can ask them more, but I don't really do those a lot. But spirit guides, by the time we're adults, we typically have our full set of 6. When we're born, we start out with 1. That is like our main guide that stays with us throughout our whole life. And then because when we're a baby, we don't really need to make a lot of decisions. Life isn't too complicated as a baby. And then as we grow up and life gets more complicated, we have to make more choices. We're in more complicated situations. Then we accumulate more. So as we get older, we'll get our second, then our third. And then I think the outer spirit guides, like 4, 5, and 6, we get those later in life. By the time we're an adult, we have all 6. But the 4, 5, and 6, they don't stay with us for the whole time. They might swap out with a different spirit guide. For example, you have 7. So that means...
So why do I have more? Or why do I have 1 more?
Yeah, so that means when you are in transition where you are entering a different life situation that might require maybe like a different guide that has a specialty in this particular situation, they might come in and swap out. So you might, since you have 7, it sounds like you're entering a different phase in your life. So your spirit guides are probably in a transition phase where one of them is coming in, and so the other one is kind of like briefing them like, hey, this is what's going on. And so they're kind of like talking right now and saying, okay, I'm about to leave. But, the old one is still there, but the new one is there. So as soon as you ease into this new situation, then the other one will leave. So that's why sometimes if you are really in tune with your guidance, there are some periods in your life where you might feel like, something feels different. Like either you have, some people who are really, really sensitive to their guides, they might feel like something, my guidance feels different, or I feel a different energy right now.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily.
That's me right now.
Yeah. So it might be because your spirit guides are changing out, or, So that's why you have 7. But typically, we usually have 6. 7 or sometimes 8 would be in a time of transition where new ones are coming in, but the old ones haven't left yet. So that's spirit guides. Spheres of protection. So again, as energetic beings and being divine beings that we are innately protected. There's truly nothing that can harm us, and on a spiritual, energetic level. I mean, you can still stub your toe or get run over or something.
Break your heart.
But in terms of, as an energetic being, there really is nothing for us to feel like we need to protect against. So the number spheres of protection is just an indicator of how congruent your choices have been.
Pause, please.
Sure.
What do we do? We didn't do God Spark, right?
Like, no, not yet. Sorry.
Okay. Very good. So we're in Spheres of Protection, though.
Yes. So
okay.
let me just finish Spheres of
chapters.
Protection.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry, I'm taking notes.
So Spheres of Protection so the most number of spheres we have is 6. So you have all 6. So that means the choices that you've made so far have been congruent and have kind of fed your protection, or basically your choices do not take away from your badassery. Like you know that you don't need protection from other beings out there. Your choices reinforce that knowing that you will always be protected, basically.
Seriously.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So, God Spark. Sorry for skipping that.
You're
so
good.
God Spark is our energetic connection to Source, our energetic connection to the divine. Some cultures or some beliefs they refer to something called like a silver thread or a silver string.
I've heard that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of what the God Spark is. And it's kind of like an umbilical cord. And that is where we get our vital force energy from Source. And yours is undamaged, so you don't need to worry about it. The only time it can really be damaged is when we choose to either give away our power to somebody else, or if we choose to believe that we need something else or somebody else to feed us. And so that's the only time that it really gets
to think
damaged.
we need someone else or something else?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Got it.
So yours is undamaged. There's also secondary God Sparks. So secondary God Sparks is like an extra oomph of energy or vital force energy. So on a soul level.
Mine's my solar plexus.
Yours is at the 4th chakra. So the 4th.
Is that yellow?
That is the heart chakra.
It's the heart.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So the reason why we get not everybody has a secondary God Spark, but on a soul level, before we were incarnated, we kind of choose themes, or we kind of choose stories that we want to play out in our upcoming lifetime. And so because maybe we are planning for a situation in our life, at a point in our life that will need extra oomph or extra energy, then we will say, okay, at this point, maybe when I'm 24, I really want to learn about, relationships. And maybe I might get into some painful relationships, so I'm going to put some extra oomph into my heart chakra to help me deal with those situations.
Man. You're so on point. It's crazy.
So you have a secondary God spark at your fourth chakra, and that gives you additional healing abilities, especially when it relates to relationships. So that one is already in place. I didn't ask when it went into place, but it's already there, and there's no damage there. So that's your God spark. And the next one I have is soul specialization. So on a soul level, we can develop, or in multiple incarnations, and even in our soul experiences outside of body, we can develop specializations, specific roles, or maybe jobs on a soul level that we've developed skills for, that we really enjoy doing. So your particular soul specialization is the fourth order. Fourth order, when they are not in body, fourth order souls are the ones who help us learn life lessons. So they help us understand potential lessons in our human experience. So, for example, on a spirit guide level, they are the ones who kind of it sounds kind of funny, but they're kind of the ones who orchestrate, like, oh, I am going to make her sprain her ankle so that she learns to slow down. So they are kind of the ones who knock us on the head to help us learn a lesson.
Yeah.
And they help us process the experiences that we have and help us understand how we create our own experiences through our choice. So people who are fourth order, they often attract a lot of people who want to talk to them. Mm-hmm. And again, your job is simply to listen. Your job is not to take on the responsibility of solving everybody's problems. Your job is just to simply listen.
Got it.
As fourth order. Yeah, so that is...
Is there anywhere that I could find out more about the fourth order?
I think there's a book. I forgot what it's called. Just Google soul specializations. And there's a book. I'll look it up and I'll text it to you.
And then I wanted to ask one more thing. You were saying something about out of body with the fourth order. Can you
that's
when
you're not.
again?
That's when you're not incarnated. So, like, on a spirit level, if you're maybe in between physical incarnations, you might take on a job as a spirit guide for somebody else, and so you would guide them to help them learn lessons in that way. So that's what I mean by out of body.
Like even on this level or whatever in the real world or whatever, like, or third dimension, like I can still be a spirit guide for people.
No,
like or what are you saying? Sorry.
No, spirit guides is a level of incarnation that is not in a body, in a physical body. Still, experiencing.
So I'm kind of an out-of-body reincarnation. Is that what you're saying?
No, what I'm saying is that fourth order soul specialization, when you're not physically incarnated, then you could, fourth order role, an example of a fourth order role when you're not physically incarnated in a body is to maybe like a spirit guide or some kind of assistance for somebody who is in a human experience to help them understand the potential lesson.
I need like a childlike teaching, or like explain to me like what is my connection to the fourth order in the not in body reincarnation thing.
Okay. So soul specializations is like a role that kind of carries over whether we're physically incarnated or not. So that's kind of like a job description that we enjoy doing, whether we're physically incarnated or not. So I was just giving you an example of when you're not physically incarnated, like in a lifetime where you're not in a physical body. Fourth order souls might take on a job as a spirit guide because the fourth order job or the role is to assist people, to help them understand lessons in a human experience. So whether you are spirit or in human body, your role typically is still fourth order. But I was just giving you an example of a spirit guide as a role that you would take on when you're not in a physical body. So even when you're not in a physical body, you can still assist other humans to learn their lessons as a spirit guide, to help them process their experiences and to help them understand how what we create as humans is a result of a choice. But you can also do that when you're incarnated in a body through your interactions with the people around you. Does that make more sense?
Yes. The last question about this topic is, so is it possible for people to be reincarnated on this realm from the out-of-body spirit realm? Is that properly positioned?
So maybe in the next lifetime you can choose to be a spirit guide.
Or like maybe I came from a spirit guide and now here I am on Earth.
Yeah. Yeah, you can take turns. I mean, it's purely a matter of what you want to experience. And it's always a choice, yes.
Yeah. Alrighty, I'm ready. Sorry about that.
Okay. So life lesson. So this kind of ties into that. So again, on a spirit level, before we incarnate in a lifetime, we choose life lessons. And some people like to think of life as like an obstacle course, like, oh, if you don't pass these certain tests, you're not going to go to heaven. Or if you do these certain things, oh, you're going to go to hell. They always think that there's a grade you need to make in order to be a good person or to move on to the next level. My understanding or my experience of life, my view of life isn't necessarily that. I like to think of life as like a theme park, and each lifetime is like a ride that we choose to go on because of the experience. Not because we have to pass a test. When you go on a roller coaster, you don't go on a roller coaster to pass a test.
You're here for a choice.
Yeah, you go because you want to experience the thrill. Or maybe in another lifetime, you don't want so much excitement. Maybe you just want to go on a merry-go-round just so you can kind of experience, I'm just going to relax and chill out in this lifetime. So the life lessons are kind of like that. They are the themes that we choose on a soul level that we want to experience in this lifetime. So even though I know I said that we're not being graded or we don't need to pass a test, your primary life lesson for this lifetime is empowerment. And the number next to it, the percent, it's not a grade. It just shows you. So the 35% is how much of that lesson or that theme you've currently completed. So in the life lesson of empowerment, you've experienced or you've completed 35% of that theme that you chose to experience.
So is this self-empowerment, like confidence and stuff like that? Or? It
can be as broad as you want it to be. But basically what it means is that in your life, if you look back, in your life, you have chosen to really, really focus on learning what it means, what the word or what the feeling or what the experience of empowerment is like. And just because, like, for example, if somebody who had the life lesson of beauty was incarnated, when you take a theme, it doesn't necessarily mean you're just going to experience all the good of that theme. it means you've signed up to experience the whole breadth of that theme. So if, for example, you pick beauty, you might be incarnated as having a deformity so that you can really learn or experience the true meaning of beauty. Like, what does it mean to be beautiful when you are born, deformed? So It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get all the good, but what it does mean is that you have chosen opportunities or experiences to really learn the meaning of this life lesson. So for you, it's empowerment. So if you look back on your life and maybe coming up too, you will be presented with opportunities for you to experience and learn what empowerment really means for you. So it's your job. It's not necessarily, I don't want to say it's your job.
Dharma.
But it's your choice to explore what empowerment really means. And the more that you really try to learn what empowerment means, the more you make choices to explore all the possibilities of what empowerment means, then the more of it that you get to experience. And the bullet points that I have listed underneath empowerment is the life areas in which the life lesson of empowerment is currently showing up for you right now.
So what does primary relationship mean, like my true love, or?
Your primary relationship means your closest relationship. So whether that's romantic or basically it's the relationship that you have primarily focused on. So there's also friendship, which is separate from primary relationship. So it doesn't necessarily mean true love. It just means your primary relationship right now.
So I'm working on empowerment in that relationship.
In that area, yes.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm. So
and
you're really experiencing what it means to be empowered in a primary relationship, and also in your spiritual development, and your personal development, and also in your physical surroundings. So
what do you define physical surroundings?
Either where you live or where you choose to be, where you choose to spend your time in, just your environment. So it can mean a lot of things. And like I said, that's for you to explore.
And same thing with the self-development, like my self-empowerment with that, or?
Yes. Mm-hmm. So spiritual development would be in terms of you connecting and developing your spirituality. Personal development would be all the aspects of you as a person, whether it's your job or your not necessarily just career, but just your sense of fulfillment on a personal level. So secondary life lessons, similar to primary. Primary is the one that you really chose to focus on in this lifetime. And you can also have secondary lifetimes. Some people have more than one. Some people have none. You have one in particular, which is giving. So that is your second theme that you wanted to explore. And the percentage is also, it means how much percent of that theme that you've already experienced. Yeah. And those bullet points are the life areas in which you are currently experiencing that lesson.
So I'm I'm giving the gift of helping people spiritual develop, giving the gift of finances, and giving people the gift of their health and well-being.
Not necessarily giving the gift of. You are experiencing what it means to give in terms of the spiritual development. You're experiencing you're learning what it means to give in terms of your finances, and you are learning what it means to give in terms of your health and well-being. So it doesn't necessarily mean you're giving your spirituality or you're giving your finances. You're exploring what it means to give, or you're exploring the experience of giving.
So helping people get healthy, or helping people figure out how they can be more financially independent or get closer to source.
That's up to you to explore, what it means to give. Because my definition of giving might be different from yours. So that's your playground to play in. That's your ride to experience. So you can explore ways, but when these life areas come up, that means that it's already in your perception. Like you're already kind of in that experience right now.
Right on.
Of exploring giving in those areas. So that part that we just finished is your soul profile. Again, the characteristics that are enduring is your energy center and your soul groups. Those are what carries over regardless of, throughout your lifetime. Your soul group characteristics can change, as you know, like depending on where you go and if you choose to adopt characteristics of a new soul group. But typically, your soul group of origin, the characteristics of the Syrians, is what will carry throughout.
So this is like kind of like the stuff that's reincarnated with afterlife.
Yes. Mhm.
And then I'm sorry. What if I'm like opposite? What if I'm kind of struggling with being organized and planning and a little bit opposite?
Well, being organized doesn't look, it's not. Being organized doesn't have to look a specific way. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're always clean with your house. It doesn't necessarily mean, that everything is in perfect order. Some people being organized can mean they have an organized way of, they have an organized system of doing things. Like they might have a certain way that they have to do things in their job. Like they have an organized way of sorting through their thoughts. Or they might have a system in place of how they do things. So it's not necessarily always how put together your house is or your stuff is. It's just you have organized way of thinking, of sorting your thoughts or sorting your thought processes. And if you don't feel connected to your innate abilities, then it might be also because of blocks. So we'll cover the blocks.
Okay.
So that's why the soul profile kind of gives you a picture of your fullest potential. Like, that is like your truest potential. And some people will say, well, I'm so not that. Like, I'm so disconnected. But
right on.
It's also because they're struggling. So they're struggling because they don't feel connected to their gifts.
And they're not tapping into their real self, like you were saying before?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they might say, well, that's not me. But they are suffering because they are not being them.
Rejecting themselves or something?
Yeah. They're trying to force themselves to be somebody else, and that's why it's so uncomfortable. So if you don't feel connected to some of these aspects, just try to express those aspects and see if it works for you. It might feel, you might have been taught to do things a different way, and that's why some people have disconnected from their true gifts. But and they probably haven't had an opportunity to explore those gifts because they were told, oh, you're not supposed to be that way. So that's probably why they don't identify with it. But we'll go through your blocks, okay, and your restrictions, and that might be a possible reason why you might not feel connected to certain aspects of your soul profile.
All right, so I have 6 blocks.
Yes. So the 6 blocks are grouped into 2 different patterns. And so in each pattern, there's the elements that contribute to that pattern. So I'll go over the first one.
Okay.
The first one is a negative karmic pattern. So when I say negative, anytime I say the word negative, it doesn't necessarily mean evil or bad. It just means that it's negative because it takes away from your true divine being. It doesn't fuel, or it doesn't add, or it doesn't contribute to your divinity. It takes
away from true divinity.
Yes.
Got it. Divinity, which means closer to God, basically, or source.
Yes, or closer to who you really are. So the first negative karmic pattern, it originated from a healing contract that you had made 4 lifetimes ago. So the origination of this pattern is from a past life. And this past life, in this particular past life, you were born as a male in that past life. And it was 4 lifetimes ago. Mm-hmm. And in that role, in that lifetime, you were in a healing role. You were like a spiritual healer in that time. And you made a healing contract with a friend in that lifetime who was a female. And in that lifetime, 4 lifetimes ago, it was around the age of 24 that you entered into this healing contract with a friend. So with contracts, again, the only time something becomes negative is, again, when it takes away from someone's divinity. So what happens, like when we offer to make a contract to heal somebody, even if it's coming from a place of wanting to help, what makes it negative is that when you take on the responsibility to heal somebody else, then you take away the opportunity for another person to heal themselves. You're taking away the opportunity for another divine being to tap into their divinity because you are presenting yourself as responsible, as being solely responsible for that person's
So when I take on responsibility, then I take away the responsibility from someone else that's meant to help them.
Yeah, you take away the opportunity for them to heal themselves because you're basically saying, hey, I'm the only one who can heal you. You're saying you are not strong enough to heal yourself, so I'm going to heal you because you can't do it. So in essence, even though that's not what you're really saying, but in making that choice to take on responsibility of healing somebody else, you are saying your connection to divinity is not enough. You don't have the capability to heal yourself, so I'm going to do it for you because nobody else can do it for you. So that takes away an opportunity for that other person to tap into their own healing abilities. So in this healing contract that you created 4 lifetimes ago, again, you're a spiritual healer, and you entered into this contract with a friend to heal her. And the friend that you had at the time, they had a chronic disease of some sort, and you guys entered into this contract. So you were on the giving end of the healing, and your friend was on the receiving end of the healing. So in that lifetime, your friend was healed. But, again, that tie that you make with a contract like that ties both of you together because now you've entered into a contract with another person, that other person that says, okay, I am responsible for your healing. And so it's tied you energetically together.
So now this person is reincarnated in this life and we have a connection again.
Yes.
Yeah, I feel it. I already know.
Yeah.
I know who it is and everything.
So now, because, and again, this is by choice. You chose to enter into that contract, and she also chose to accept.
Yes.
So it's by choice. And the perpetuation of this contract is also by choice.
So how do I end the contract?
So I'm going to give you the other aspects that kind of feed this pattern. And then
so this is the patch soul stuff?
So, yeah. So the contract is what originated this pattern. So it's kind of, let me go back. So as perfect beings, we are kind of like DVDs, right? Or CDs. We're meant to play a song. And when you first buy a CD, it's like perfect, it's shiny, it's not scratched. And then as we keep playing it, maybe we'll drop it, and then it gets a scratch, right? And then so now when we try to play that song, when it comes to that part where there's a scratch, it'll skip or it'll keep repeating. Mm-hmm. So we're not able to play that perfect song we were designed to play. So these blocks and restrictions is kind of like that. They're kind of like scratches on our DVD, but we put them there by choice. And so when it comes to that area of a scratch, it either might keep repeating itself, like that same pattern might keep repeating itself, or maybe it'll skip where we are not able to express, what we were meant to express. It's like a blockage, or it'll, like I said, it'll keep repeating a pattern that we didn't plan for it to repeat. So the origination of this pattern is that contract from 4 lifetimes ago. And because of this kind of scratch that it caused, it's also kind of predisposed you to be susceptible to adding kind of like a
negative
more
karma
aspects, that feed this particular pattern. So there's the contract of healing, and then which tied you to this friend. So this contract can typically be an attachment mechanism. It can be a reason, or it can be a reason where a soul might become attached to you because you guys are tied and you haven't let go of that tie. Then they can either reincarnate with you repeatedly, physically, or sometimes even if they don't incarnate with you in a lifetime, they might still be attached to you on a soul level and still be drawing energy from you because of that attaching mechanism, which is the contract. But in this particular case, this friend did incarnate with you, and let me see. Okay, so let me explain a little bit more about the healing contract. So that was.
It says confusion, emotional body at 4th chakra, so that's the heart.
Yeah, so the attached soul.
Yeah.
So when there are attached souls, it's kind of like a computer program, or a computer. So when you have an attached soul, it's kind of like a virus that plays a repeated program. And the way the attachment gets fueled or gets stronger or it gets fed is when you choose to give energy to the program that they're playing. So the program that they're playing is confusion. And where it attaches to you is in your emotional body. And it's connecting at your 4th chakra, which means anytime it relates to your relationship with yourself or with others, it's playing this program or this message of confusion. And so whenever you buy into that confusion, and specifically when it relates to relationships, you are kind of fueling the attachment, or you're fueling that negative karmic pattern.
On my heart.
Not necessarily on your heart, but that's just where it attaches.
Oh, it's attached at the heart?
Yeah, at the 4th chakra. So, and it doesn't necessarily physically affect your heart. It might, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's physically affecting your heart. It just
because it makes it hard to have relationships and to grow and love myself. And
because it feeds
it's taking
off
all my
confusion.
Energy.
Yeah. So you probably might be feeling like, well, I don't really know, I'm really not sure. And so you're creating, confusion causes kind of like chaos, disorganized thoughts. And so if you feed this confusion, this energy of confusion, especially when it comes to relationships, then it feeds a disconnection. It takes you away from your true divinity, from the experiences that can fuel your divinity if you feed off of this program of confusion.
Experiences that feed my divinity?
Yes. So it can take you away from opportunities or learning experiences that can further your experience of the divinity.
Yeah.
If you are buying into the confusion,
So this person's pretending like they're confused with life and that they have all these issues and and they say that I think I know where you're coming from.
Yeah. So it doesn't matter at the end of it all. It doesn't matter what other people, other souls, other organizations around us do. What matters is our choices. So even if this attached soul is trying to play, is trying to infect us with a program of confusion, it's still ultimately up to us to choose whether we buy into this energy of confusion. Because if it doesn't feel right to you,
do you end the relationship?
Yeah, because if it doesn't, if the idea of having confusion about somebody you love or somebody you want to be in a relationship with doesn't feel right, and if it feels like it's taking you away from an opportunity that you really, really, really want to pursue, then that means you're going against your gut feeling. You know, you're going against your better judgment, and you're choosing to go with that confusion, even if it is an outside voice that is projecting this illusion of confusion on you. Does that make sense?
For this third thing though, what does the earthbound soul thing mean?
So there's an attached soul, which in this particular case it originated from a past life. But this attached soul, even though your attachment originated in a past life, this person was also incarnated in this life. And this person actually passed away in this lifetime for you. Not for you, they didn't pass away for you. But in this lifetime that you're experiencing, there was a friend of yours who passed away in this lifetime who is not attached to you, is drawing energy from you. Excuse me. And
so someone that I know but died.
Yes. And so typically earthbound souls, they're different from an attached soul, because an attached soul can be attached to you even if they weren't incarnated in this lifetime. An earthbound soul is typically somebody who passes away. Either they pass away suddenly, or when they die, they're afraid to die, or they're really strongly attached to their physical existence. So when they passed away, they didn't want to move on. So on a soul level, they are kind of stuck here in this earthly plane because they don't want to move on for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not natural. So the natural order of things is that they would move on. So in order for them to stay here, they have to draw vital force energy from either somebody, person, or later on, if they stay here long enough, they can learn to draw energy from their environment, like, poltergeist. So.
Oh my God! Yeah.
So in this instance, though, it's an earthbound soul. It's not a poltergeist or anything. It's just a soul who is lost. And earthbound souls doesn't necessarily mean they're evil. They don't intentionally draw life. Not all of them intentionally draw life or energy because they're malicious. They are just scared, and this is the only way they know how to stay here is to draw energy from other people. So the only way they can do that is if there's like a vibrational likeness.
So if I can't end the relationship because they're dead, what do I do?
You can mentally, you can by choice say, hey, I'm not responsible. And the clearing exercise, we'll go over the clearing exercise after, so I'll explain that. But even if they're not in body, even if they're not alive, you can always choose to sever a connection, and you can,
That's record?
Yes, and it can be in a loving way, so it's not like you're going to leave them hanging and they're going to suffer because you're cutting a cord. You can send them love, and you can empower it. And a lot of times when you do that, it helps empower the other soul, because then they are forced to explore themselves, explore their capability to be who they thought you were supposed to be for them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, their expectations of me.
Yeah, so they can find that in themselves once you release that. So that is that particular karmic pattern. So there is that healing contract that you made with a friend. And because of that healing contract that you made with a friend, it's kind of tied you two together. And so it's, that friend is now an attached soul, and where you strengthen that attachment is when you are when you are choosing to go against what you know is right for you, by choosing to buy into whatever confusion you feel when it comes to either loving yourself or loving others, or when it comes to relationship matters of the heart.
And then the second pattern? Yeah.
Yeah, so the second pattern, sorry, it's a little...
You're cool.
The second pattern, the root cause of the second pattern is a genetic imprint. And this genetic imprint was from 2 generations ago, and it's from both your maternal and your paternal side of the family. So what a genetic imprint is that our DNA is kind of like a flash drive. It holds on to memories. If there's any trauma in the past, our DNA, it gets encoded in our DNA. Especially
and mine is a mixture of my mom and dad?
Yeah, so this particular genetic imprint came from both your mom and your dad's side, and it came from 2 generations ago. So I don't know who exactly started it, but...
Would that mean like their parents' parents? Or?
So not your parents, but your grandparents from both sides. And
so my parents' parents?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Parents. Okay, so not my parents' parents, just parents' parents. Got it.
Yeah, so 2 generations ago.
Cool.
So grandparents. The genetic imprint, the message of this genetic imprint is doubt. So the energetic statement keeps replaying. That started with your grandparents' doubt, and where it specifically plays is in your mental body, and it specifically affects your 3rd chakra. The 3rd chakra is anything that has to do with your self-esteem or
is that yellow?
Goals. 3rd chakra is orange. Yellow. No, yellow. It's yellow.
It is yellow.
Yeah.
Yellow.
Sure.
So you said self-esteem?
Yes, self-esteem or personal goals. So whenever it comes to anything that relates to self-esteem or personal goals, there is a message of doubt that gets played. And so, again...
The broken record.
Yeah. So it started 2 generations ago, and it was carried over to your parents, and then it was passed on to you. And so it affects you because, like I said, when it comes to self-esteem or personal goals, there's this message of doubt that keeps playing. And so that is the root of this second pattern. So because of that root cause, it's made you susceptible to these other 2 things that have kind of strengthened this pattern. There's an anger sphere. So an anger sphere is a projection of anger energy. So it was, the anger sphere was directed at you by a client of some type when you're 24 years old. And the client was a female. I don't know exactly who. And I don't think it really matters who it was. What matters is that it started negative, even though it was directed at you when you were 24, it only really started negatively affecting you when you were 27. So...
When 26?
Yeah. So
just turned 26.
Yeah. So like I said, it doesn't matter what other people do around us, how much shit people talk about us, how much they hurt us. What ultimately allows other people to hurt us or to affect us is when we choose to let that energy affect us. So this person or this client or whoever might have been trying to throw anger spears at you since you were 24, but it didn't really start affecting you until recent. And so that's one aspect that kind of feeds this negative karmic pattern. And another effect of this negative karmic pattern is that you have negative astral travel. So negative astral travel is when, again, when we sleep, we reconnect with our higher self, and we reconnect with, we replenish our vital force energy. So your negative astral travel, when we sleep, our consciousness and our spirit travels dimensions, and again, it reconnects with the higher self. So what is meant to happen in sleep is that we are able to process feelings, we're able to reconnect with higher self, we're able to replenish vital force energy. But when we have astral travel and we are unable to connect with our higher self during sleep, or we're unable to replenish vital force energy, that's when it becomes negative. So this, the genetic imprint and the anger sphere that has affected you has also caused you to not be able to replenish yourself in your sleep. So you might wake up feeling really drained and tired, even if you've slept for a long time. Or you might feel disconnection with your intuition or your gifts. So those are, that's how it might show up for you. So those are the two main negative karmic
What about
patterns.
breaking that pattern, the last one? Because you said the first one's cutting etheric cords, so what's this one?
Yeah, so again, it's choice, right? If the message that is replaying for you that is taking you away from fulfilling your purpose is the doubt, then you can always choose to go against that doubt, or to do what feels good for you despite the doubt. So you can maybe acknowledge that it's there. Okay, you're there, but I know what's best for me. I have my own guidance, and I'm going to rely on that true guidance that I feel is right, and I feel it in my gut. This is right. So I'm going to go with that, even if I feel this doubt.
All right. And
then, go ahead.
Well, I was saying, what choice was the root cause, or what's how can you make it, or what's that side stuff?
Oh, that's just for you to think about. So, when you're taking notes, what was the root cause? So in the first pattern, it was the contract. You made a choice. Okay. So basically what it boils down to is choice, right? You, in those instances, what caused those negative karmic patterns was a choice. And it's a choice that you keep feeding, perpetuating. That's why it's still affecting you now, and it's taking you away from fulfilling what you want to fulfill, from being what you want to be. So the key is to make a choice that is different. Because if you're going to keep making the same choices, you're just going to keep, perpetuating the same
insanity.
Yeah.
So,
go ahead.
Well, I'm just excited, okay, because I'm interacting with someone in another country right now who actually gave me a similar test to what you gave me, except mine goes, it's like a prayer. It goes to all chakras at all levels. Please send all the energy necessary to correct the blocks recognized and all the causative factors thereof, no matter where they're located, at every level of the body, mind, emotion, soul, and or spirit complex, anywhere in time and or space. These energies are to go wherever they are needed in priority sequence to effect safe and permanent corrections and to embrace these changes into wholeness. So, and it's the same thing. I have to do it for 30 days, and if I miss a day, then I have to start all over again.
Yeah. So what that does, just like the DVD analogy, is that it helps clear the scratches, right? But ultimately, even if you clear the scratches, you are still a dynamic being who is always making choices. So even if you clear it, if tomorrow you choose to make the same choice again, it's and that's why, yes, your friend's prayer is cool, but what is important is the awareness of the choices you made that got you in the situation. Because you can always say, "Oh, clear everything right now and give me everything I need right now." But if you're not aware of the choice that got you in this position anyway, even if you say that prayer and you do it for 30 days, if you're not aware of the choice that got you in the situation you're in right now, it doesn't really empower you to sustain that clearing.
Highest level.
Yeah. So with this, and even with this, even if you choose, not to do the clearing exercise, that's cool too. But what is really important, what it basically boils down to, is the choices that you make. So now that you're aware of the choices that you made in the past and the choices that you have continued to make, now you can make a conscious decision to choose something else, to choose a different experience for yourself. So the clearing exercise, as you've read, it's kind of like a prayer. And the reason why there's repetition, whether it's 21 days or 30 days, is because on a subconscious level, you're kind of trying to etch a new pattern for yourself. You're trying to erase whatever scratches you made, and you're trying to reinforce your original blueprint. So that's why, it's like carving something on a piece of wood. If you just do it one time, you just scratch the surface. But the more that you do it, the deeper it goes in, the deeper the pattern sets in. And so the more it reinforces it. And it's kind of like exercising too. If you just exercise one day, do you really get the full benefits of the exercise? Not really. You have to kind of keep doing it and make it a habit so that it's really ingrained in you, the healthy habits that you're trying to make.
Was this one manifested just for me? Or
so that particular clearing exercise is custom made for you according to the blocks that came up.
Yeah, because I see the astral travel thing.
Yeah, because I have 40 potential blocks or restrictions that any one person could have. I only have 6 of them. So it's custom made to your specific situation. Because, like I said, you can say, clear everything for me right now, but if you don't know what those things are, it's kind of, I don't want to say pointless, but, there is some help to it, but the real power you have is in the awareness that you have. Because then you can make choices based on that new awareness that you have.
Got it.
Yeah. So that's the clearing exercise. You can do the clearing exercise, if you choose to do the clearing exercise, you can do it however way you want to. You can sing it, you can make it into a rhyme, you can light a candle, you can program a crystal, like you can use selenite, program a crystal with that intention and use it to clear. You know how you said, I think you mentioned you could feel me in your gut?
I felt like you were tapping into my energy,
Yeah. So wherever it feels, you seem like you're really sensitive, so wherever it feels like you have blockages, you can wave the selenite if you program it over your heart chakra or the third chakra, wherever it feels like you need clearing, you can use it however it feels right. What helped me remember is that I copied the text of the prayer and I put it on my phone and I set an daily alarm for my phone so that it doesn't matter where I'm at. Once my alarm goes off, then I can read it from my phone. And so it really helped me with the prayer. And
okay, so for this,
go ahead.
Well, I'm just curious, so at the beginning is we add the element. Do I read that every single time? And the ISIN, or where do I begin?
Oh, where it's written in italics, where it starts to be italics.
I'm struggling to tell that in my email. So,
let me bring it up.
Or I don't know if it's not in italic or what. I'm silly.
I don't have the file in front of me. Let me go to my computer and see. But
this is all off memory.
Just so you know, some people think that whether it's energy work or any kind of healing, a lot of people are looking for a magic pill, and excuse me one second. So a lot of people think it's a magic pill and that, everything's going to be rainbows and unicorns after they do something or if they, get a healing session or when they get a clearing. But that's not how it works in this particular case. You still have to do the work. The work, what the clearing exercise does, at least in my experience and the people who've done it, is that it kind of opens a portal and it takes you into the situation. It kind of immerses you in the situation that you're trying to change. So what I mean by that is that, in your prayer, you're asking to clear certain things, right? And those certain things were started or originated from a choice that you made. So what typically happens is that it's going to be like, okay, Trina is wanting to change these things. She is ready. She's saying she's ready. She's putting out this intention. So if she really wants to change these things, let's see if she's really ready. So you are going to be brought into a situation where those things that you're asking to change, you're going to be presented with situations that really bring you face to face with those situations that you're trying to change. And it's going to be like, okay, this is what you said you want to change. Are you ready? And so it's giving you opportunities to make different choices from your original choices. So it might bring you to similar circumstances that originated your negative karmic patterns. And it'll be like, okay, you said you're ready for something different. Well, here is the scenario. Are you really ready? Yeah. It's not really a test. It's just it's bringing you opportunity. Okay, so here. I have your thing here. Start where it says, I hereby set the intention.
Okay.
That's where you start.
I hereby. Gotcha.
Yeah. So that is how that works. For a lot of people, it can be painful. Like, and I asked a friend to tell me about her experience, and she was just like, oh my gosh. She was like, I went through hell because she's like, I went through a shitstorm, and she said, but it really brought me face to face with the things that I've been avoiding. And once I made the choice to face it, she's like, it opened up so many doors for me, and all the things that she wanted to happen, or all the things that she wanted to address, after she made that painful choice, but after she got through that painful situation, then it opened up all this opportunity for her. So it's kind of like that. It's not, it's not going to make everything happy right when you start it, but it gives you the opportunity to do the work, to make the choices that you say you want to make, and it gives you opportunities to change your experience in that way. So that's how it works. I don't mean to scare you or anything.
No, you're good.
But I mean, oftentimes growth often involves making, decisions that are really, that might seem painful, but it's only painful because we're not used to them. It's just something different.
Not used to it. Got it.
Yeah. So, do you have any questions so far?
No, I just want to let you know a little information. So I joined this Facebook group called Star Seeds, basically, and there was a random girl that posted about proxians. Sorry, I'm
proxians.
Proxians. And then all the information just really resonated with me, and I just went a little haywire. And she told me that she got a reading from this lady that did Akashic Record. And then, I got that lady's information, but I haven't chosen to really go forward with her. Although, I'll be honest, I'm definitely going to be interested in getting more Akashic Record readings just to see, what all aligns with everyone and see what happens out of curiosity. And then I basically found you because I looked up the proxians. Proxians. Yes, I looked up proxian.
I don't know how to pronounce it either, but
I looked up proxian hashtag, and I came across you, and then it just so happened to me that was on a post that you did, that you were doing Akashic Records, and something just, it felt appropriate. I really liked your energy that you had going on Instagram and all the lessons you were teaching, and all the green bones thing kind of sold me, because my dad has a terminal illness, and I grew up my whole life afraid to lose him because I'm super tight with my father, and that just really resonated with me really hard, and it made me want to, ask you, was there any green bones in there when the day comes? Or same for me though too.
Yeah, well, that's when I did a reading for myself, and I did a clearing for myself. when I did, because I was feeling like I had writer's block. Like I've been wanting to write a book, and for the longest time, it's like eating at me, like, what the hell am I supposed to write about? I can't figure it out. And so I did a reading on myself, and what came up is similar to yours. There was a karmic imprint that originated from my dad. And so when I did the clearing exercise, I didn't grow up with my dad. Like, I barely spent time with my dad, so my dad's kind of been like a issue for me.
Right on.
Any issues.
Me too.
When I started doing the clearing exercise, I found out that my dad was in the Philippines and that he was dying. And so when I was doing the clearing exercise, I was asking, like similar to yours, I'm asking to clear karmic imprints, even though I didn't know it at the time. I knew it was from my dad, but, even though I didn't know it at the time, and then I got the news that he was sick, I had to fly to the Philippines to see my dad.
Is that where the waterfall photographs are taken then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the Philippines, yeah.
Wow.
And so I had to fly to the Philippines, and I had to forgive my dad. Like, he couldn't talk anymore. He was on a ventilator. He was in a coma. But I had to forgive him. So that was the work that I had to do. I had to make a choice. That was the choice I had to make that was different, to change, to release that karmic imprint. Because my dad carried really heavy feelings of failure. And so I think it carried over to me. So I had this fear of being a failure, and that's why I couldn't write. And so, again, I didn't know it at the time I was going through this. I just made the choices that felt right with me. Like, even though I had issues with my dad, it felt right to just fly over there and be with him while he was sick. And it just felt right to forgive him. And then looking back, like, as I completed my 21 days, like, because after I did that with my dad, it opened up so much for me. Like, I felt so inspired to write, and I was writing about my dad, but it opened, like, this floodgate of, like, inspiration that, I just had to write. And so it cleared, looking back after I completed the clearing exercise, I was like, oh, that was it. Like, what I went through was the clearing work I did for myself. And it's the clearing exercise that just kind of opened up that opportunity for me. So it's not necessarily that the clearing exercise made my dad sick. That's not what caused it. But I was just presented with that opportunity to heal and also to make different choices so that I can open up my own connection to the divine and not have, those karmic imprints block me, whether they're from my dad. I think in forgiving my dad, he was able to let his own feelings of failure go so that we both were able to release that. And so that's kind of how it works.
Wow.
So I'm glad you're able to find me in that way, and I'm glad you were able to. That's how it works. You just tune into your own feeling. You go with what feels right, and there's not always going to be a label that says, hey, you're supposed to go here. You just really have to trust your own instinct and your own intuition and really feel out what is right for you. So this reading is called Soul Realignment because it helps reconnect you. I mean, I think innately you probably know a lot of this already, but a lot of times we just have to be reminded of it. And we just have to, sometimes it helps to hear it from another person, but innately we all have access to this information.
Akashic Record.
Yeah, we all have access to our own guidance. So it's just
I'm really itching to go to Virginia to go to the Edgar Casey ARE. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
What is it, hypnosis class?
That's a great question. I mean, so you're familiar with Edgar Casey?
Yes, but not with
I guess there's some sort of organization that's like completely dedicated to him that he founded or something, and they have like a library of all of his books, all of his studies, and it's in Virginia Beach, and it's called the ARE. I mean, I'm not really sure what it stands for. I've had this insane calling to go there, and I'm not sure why, though. I'm just going to have to go there.
Yeah, just go. Explore it for yourself. And like I said, you know, if it ends up not being for you, then at least you actually followed your guidance and, you know, checked it out for yourself. But I've recently it recently came into my awareness, you know, Dolores Cannon. Are you familiar with her?
Mm-mm.
She did something similar to Edgar Casey, where she's a hypnotist.
Hey, oh, I know exactly who you're talking about. She wrote, hold on, don't tell me. It's a book I really want. Something about galaxies, and
yeah.
I found out about her through Stephen Greer. Have you watched that yet, with Unacknowledged?
No.
Oh my God, it's the most scientific evidence of exactly what you're preaching. Basically, it talks about aliens in existence and how other countries have always known. He was a doctor, and he's you have to see Unacknowledged. You'll get a kick out of it. It's on YouTube. It's free.
Yeah, I have to look it up. But yeah,
so
I
found about her.
So Dolores Cannon, I recently saw a video, not of her, but somebody else who does the type of hypnosis she does. And so I'm doing this thing called quantum healing hypnosis technique. And so it does what it is, it's like past life regression. And then also while you're under hypnosis in a session, it connects you with your higher self. Like you're in direct conversation with your higher self.
Wow.
So
what was that called again?
Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique, or QHHT.
QHHT. Her book is called Convoluted Universe that I really want to read.
Yeah, so that's where she got her material from. Is, you know, like when she put all these people in hypnosis.
QHHT?
Yeah.
Quantum healing or something?
Hypnosis technique. So when she put these people under hypnosis, these were the things that people were telling her. And so that's why she wrote so many books, is that all these people that she had sessions with were giving her all these details of other worlds, past lifetimes. So she just basically compiled all the information that she was given, and she was able to ask questions to everybody's higher self. So like she would ask the higher self, well, what, you know, like all the existential questions, like, you know, are there really, you know, is there really life on other planets? And, you know, so these sessions, you know, like you can really get direct answers from. So if you're interested, well, I do them now, but they're only in person. But if you want to learn about
well,
it,
it's funny. It's the funny you're in San Jose, because I'm actually I'm in San Jose all the time. I actually have a really close buddy who's there, and because of you, I might try to go in September to that energetic healing con, or I don't know, convention. Yeah, I forgot what it's called.
If you ever come and you want to do a QHHT session, let me know.
You're gonna put me under? I mean, mess around with the conscious mind.
I know it sounds scary, but
it does.
Have you ever seen that movie Get Out?
No. Oh, actually, yes.
Don't watch it. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, like people usually think that that's, you know, what hypnosis is like, but it's not. It's really what it basically is it's just like a guided meditation session. Like I guide you into meditation, and then when you're in that deep level of trance, and most people are still conscious, you know, it's not like they're knocked out. It's like they're just watching movies of their past lives, or, you know, some of them have experiences of themselves either in lifetimes in other planets.
What if I have blocks? Am I still going to be able to get in?
Yes.
Yes. Sold. So, what's that run? How much is that?
Depends on when you come, because up until July, I'm doing it for free. But after,
Okay, so I got to come to San Jose soon.
Yeah. So let me know if you'll be in town.
Maybe April, actually, the last week of April.
Last week of April. Oh, I think I might be free.
I'll see what I can do. Like, if I got to book my plane now if I'm doing that.
And
we can actually plan.
Okay, I'll send you dates that I'm available in April, and we'll coordinate.
Hopefully somewhere in the last week.
Yeah, because I know we're going out
or just towards the end. Like, that's what I'm dealing with, milady. Like, I'm booked on the 15th of April, and then after that, I'm kind of free. But I still, like, if you can give me all the dates for the month of April after the 15th. That would be amazing.
Okay. Yeah. So,
yes.
so yeah, that is available to you. So, but I hope this helps in the meantime. And a lot of times doing the the Akashic Record reading first is good because then it gives people a good base to ask questions from.
Well, I do have a nerdy question to ask.
Mm-hmm.
What do I do if I get another Akashic Record and they tell me other information?
You
or
know,
like, how do I know that they're not being messed with by spirit guides or something like that, you know?
Always follow your guidance. You know, like I said, don't be too attached to labels. Don't be too attached to numbers. Just feel out for the energy of what they're trying to say. So
I feel you.
Whatever feels right, however they want to call it or whatever they call it, whether the name is different or not, if you really resonate with the energy of what they're trying to tell you, then go with that.
All right, last question. For real. Are there people that aren't starseeds?
Yes.
Okay.
There's a lot. Most of the people here on Earth, their souls originated on Earth, but there's also a lot of wanderers or travelers who come here for the Earth experience.
I'm thinking about Palladians and like, what about Nibiru? Are you into that? Planet X? Or is that serious?
I briefly looked into it. I don't have any particular strong feelings about it.
Doesn't resonate?
It does, but does it really matter with what really matters in my now experience? Like, am I going to be scared of this thing that may or may not be true? And am I going to base my decisions on that possibility? I would rather, focus on now and what feels good for me right now. If it comes, it comes. If it's true, it's true. If it's not, then I'm still doing what I am called to do right now. As a teacher, one of my mentors, when I was first getting into spirituality, I was kind of fascinated with, starseeds and, life on other planets. And I'm still into that. But what she was telling me was yes, it's interesting, but don't let it distract you from what you're doing now. If you want to spend time researching it, it's cool, but don't pour all your energy into researching something when your current experience right now is waiting for you. Because we're in this body on this planet right now for a reason. So whatever you're doing here right now is more important than, because there's so many possibilities, focus your energy and your attention on right now and what feels good right now and what you're guided to explore right now, if that makes sense. And I'm not saying you shouldn't look into that, but that's just my...
I know. I just hear it. I mean, that's the best thing that I gained from you. I mean, there's a lot of useful stuff, but the one thing that's definitely burned in my mind than everything else is do what feels right. Do what feels good. What's good for you.
And that's your guidance, It's what's... I mean, it doesn't matter what people say, and even facts and, even science is wrong a lot of times, things that are proven true now, they find out later, oh, sorry, you're wrong. So really the only ultimate thing that matters is your own guidance. Because if you follow what other people say or other people's numbers, ultimately are you going to be happy with what you decide to do? So yeah, I hope that helps.
It's great.
I'm recording the session, so after we're done, I'll send you the link to it, and I'll send you the dates that I'm available.
That was awesome.
Yeah. So, and feel free to, text me or message me if you have any questions that come up.
Yes. Well, if I can show off this recording, definitely would like to.
Yeah. So,
definitely
have fun.
Will do. It's been a pleasure. I look forward to meeting you. Definitely would like to make that happen.
Yeah, no problem. Look forward to it.
All right. Have a great night, Mama.
You too.
Thank you.
Bye.
Peace.